In this video, we're going to use PartMaker's Advanced Tools functionality to show you how to create and import a form tool into PartMaker's Tools database. Here you see in front of you a typical porting tool or a drill with multiple diameters that is a great application for PartMaker's Advanced Tools function. The drawing you see was actually created in PartMaker using PartMaker's documentation wizard along with the standard dimensioning tools available in PartMaker CAD. So let's take a look at how we would create this tool and bring it into PartMaker's Tools database. Of course, the benefit of using a tool like this is that, particularly for a live tooling lathe or a Swiss lathe with limited live tooling functionality, it will allow us to conserve live tooling stations if we have a hole with multiple diameters. Here we see a drawing of the tool in PartMaker CAD. You see the tool has already been drawn and dimensioned here. However, what we'll do is let's quickly delete this and just quickly show you an exercise of drawing up a form tool like this one based on the dimensions provided in the drawing. So what we'll do is we'll start by selecting the line parallel to the vertical axis icon, and we'll specify all the dimensions of the diameter of one side of this form tool. So first I'm entering a diameter of 125, followed by a diameter of 0.250. Again, we're going per side, so it's half the overall diameter that we're entering because we're only drawing one half of the tool at the moment. And finally to 0.375. Again, looking back at the drawing of the tool, I see I've got my various lengths of 0.250, 0.5, and 0.750. So we'll go ahead and quickly draw those in as well using the line parallel to the horizontal axis icon. Again, 0.25, 0.5, and 0.75. Having now done this, what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and start to draw in some angles for the drill points of the porting tool. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my line and angle icon. We'll start at 0, 0 and accept that, and similarly create a line on an angle of 135 degrees. And we'll go ahead and simply repeat this operation for each subsequent diameter of the porting tool. Having done that, what's very important now is to make sure we create a center line for this tool. And you'll see why we do this in just a moment. So having done this, I'm going to simply clip away all the geometry I don't need. Again, just using PartMaker's remove icon, clipping away on the pieces of geometry I don't need. And finally, I can just get rid of that initial center line. Now, the very important point here when we're creating a form tool that's going to be a rotationally symmetrical tool or a tool used for milling or drilling applications in particular in PartMaker is to go ahead and mirror the geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and select this geometry, and I'm going to go ahead and select the mirror button, making one copy on a vertical axis and simply mirroring the geometry. So here's the key, is making sure you have closed geometry which is symmetrical and is symmetrical about the axes in the part. Now, as a general bit of guidance, I always recommend creating a form tool like this in a window like the Mill XY plane if you're using SwissCAM or TurnMill. If you're using PartMaker Mill, you can use the same window also. But really, you can do this in any of the PartMaker windows. Having drawn the tool, I'm now going to go ahead and export it as a DXF file. And I'm going to give this a name. I'll call it, let's say, port underscore tool.dxf. Now, I want you to keep that tool name in mind because what's going to happen here is we're going to go into PartMaker's Tools database. We're going to create a new tool now. We're going to generally choose the type of tool that it is. Of course, this is generally a drill, which is oriented in the X longitude. And I'm going to now tick this button here called User Defined. This is what tells the software I'm using a user-defined tool. At this stage, the real key is to give the tool a name that is identical to the DXF file that you've given it. So here you see I'm giving the name port underscore tool. At this point, I can also set up some of the parameters that are roughly equivalent to the tool. For example, the length of 0.750, the diameter I want it to be recognized by, let's say 0.250, the included angle of, let's say, 90 degrees. Really, what the software is going to do is look at the geometry you've drawn to create this tool. So now when I click on this button called Verify Shape, there I see the actual shape that I've drawn in PartMaker's 2D CAD and brought into my tool database for use as a form tool. Of course, when I do a shape preview, I now see that 2D geometry having been revolved, and I see a 3D model of that form tool. So that's a very quick lesson on how you can create custom form tools using PartMaker's Advanced Tools function.